Alright guys, a missed call here going on. See, there's always distraction. In today's video, I just want to talk about moving out of your parents' house, going out on your own, and discovering what that means for you as a man and pursuing things that matter to you. I just want to talk about that and how it's an important thing in becoming more of a man and discovering yourself. Because I feel like there's a lot of people who stay living at their parents' house, and I think that it's a big, it really holds you back. And I know this from personal experience because I lived with my parents for probably far too long. Not really that long. I think some people live with their parents a lot longer than I have. I lived with my parents up until about a year and a half ago, but I had moved out earlier in my 20s. But I just wanted to share about my story. I just want to share about my story and why I think that it's important you get out and discover yourself. So nowadays with modern men, there's not really a rite of passage. There's not something that we need to do to become a man. You know, in earlier days there was always like ritual or rite of passage or a way that we could step into, go from boyhood to manhood. And nowadays there's none of that. So now we're just, I really feel like the best way to become a man and to really step into the unknown is to leave your hometown, out of your parents' house, and go out on your own and go and discover new possibilities for you. Because when you do this, you're really only relying on yourself, and there's a dire motivation and a fire under your ass to make things happen, to pay the bills. When you have to cook yourself dinner and pay for food and pay for the utilities and the rent and the fuel, there's just a drive that you have to make it happen. Nobody's gonna help you. You're on your own. And I really think nothing makes you grow up faster than that. When I was living with my parents, I did already pay for most of my bills. I paid for a car payment. I would buy the food I needed, but I wasn't paying for the internet. I wasn't paying for the electricity bill. I wasn't paying for rent. I was living there rent free. And that's a big portion of your monthly expenses. The biggest thing is housing. And I would always say, I'm not paying for I'm paying for pretty much everything, but didn't realize how much of an expense it is. And I also moved to a more expensive location from where my parents live, because I moved 5 hours away from my parents. So I didn't realize, taking that on and paying rent for myself for the first time. And I've moved several times since I initially moved out of my parents. But it's nothing. The hero's journey is really about connecting with yourself as a man and stepping into that fear and making things happen for your life and doing the hard shit, because that's what makes us strong. And it doesn't even have to be super intense, really difficult stuff. It's really just about stepping into the unknown, paying for the rent, taking care of things, and having to be resourceful enough to make things happen, to learn new skills, to meet new people, and to really put yourself outside your comfort zone. Because when you're at your parents' house and when you live in your hometown that you're familiar with, and you know everybody, you can't really grow, because you're in this tiny box where people are just, when you live at your parents' house, and you're really just living in your comfort zone. And I realized that my whole hometown and where I was from was my comfort zone, and I was comfortable there, and I stayed there for far too long because I was too scared to leave. But leaving was the best thing I could have ever done, because I really had to be on my own, and I really had to just make things happen. So part of my story was I moved down here, and I didn't move down here alone. I moved to this new place and moved out of my parents' house. Financially, it is the hardest thing when you're by yourself, and you have to do that. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to bartend. I wanted to bartend because I knew it was good money, and I knew it would be fun, and it would just be a good way to put myself outside of my comfort zone and talk to people and be better socially. So I got a bartending job, and I knew nothing about it. I never worked in a restaurant. I enjoy it. It's good cash, and I put myself outside of what was normal for me, and I made that happen. And that's the thing. The only thing you want to be careful of moving out of your parents' house is moving in with the wrong people. Is finding good roommates. You can find roommates on Craigslist, but I really recommend just trying to find people of mutual friends that you know from Facebook, in a larger friend group, or if you know people in the area. Really try to do that first. If you can even, and you think you can swing it financially and you've saved a lot of money, then get your own place. And start working immediately when you get there. My mistake is that I struggled to find, wow, a lot of missed calls. What's going on? So I really encourage you to have a good money saved. Having said that, I really think it's important that when you're working and you're young and you're living at your parents' house, and I'm talking like 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and you're working a part-time job that you don't like and that you're gonna leave anyway, instead of blowing all your money, save 10% of your income, 15, 20% of your income if you can, put a little bit away. Now, when you move to a new place, you can put money down. You can pay for 6 months, a year of rent, or just have a decent chunk of change saved for an emergency fund. That way, when you're starting out by yourself, you have money to fall back on. But it's not easy. It's not easy. But that's the point of the hero's journey. It's really about connecting with yourself, being alone, finding out who you are, and being outside of your parents' influence. Because a lot of the times, their beliefs and the way they do things just become the way you do things, and that's not necessarily correct. You start thinking like them about, how they think about money, how they think about anything, religion, and you really gotta step outside of that, and you gotta embrace what's different and who you are as an individual, because you are not them, and you have to separate from them and make your own choices and cook your own food and do everything that you need to do to survive. And that's part of the struggle, and that's part of the hero's journey. And I don't have it all figured out, but I feel like it takes time and you get it together. You figure out who you are, what you want, what you're pursuing. You learn how to manage your money better, and it just gets better. It's not easy initially, and it's hard to leave home, but you're comfortable with. And I have a pretty decent relationship with my parents, but when you live with your parents for too long, you just start having arguments with them, and you just get resentful, and it's just like towards each other, and it's just like not a good dynamic, because you're a fully grown person living with them, and you should be out making your own choices and deciding for yourself. And as a man, it's most important that you get out on your own and experience that pain of struggling and pushing yourself to be all that you can be. And you can't be that living at your parents' house, because it's your comfort zone ultimately. So if you're like 18 to 21, I recommend you get out and you look for a place wherever you want to move, and you look on Craigslist, you talk to people, you make the call, you fill out the application, and you get out there. Feel what it's like to push yourself and to make things happen. To have to do your own groceries, to do your own laundry, to figure out what you're gonna eat for dinner, pay your own rent. Because these are the things that shape you. You discover who you are, you connect to the source when you're alone, sitting in your apartment, and you figure out what you want and who you are in those moments. Forced to make good decisions, and if you don't, really end up paying for it in the long run. So I think from a self-development point, I'm into it. I'm trying to share my journey with you guys authentically, and I just think that we all want to improve. We want to make more money, we want to have a nice body, we want to be strong, we want to do things properly. But I think that best thing we can do for self-improvement, if you haven't, is get out of your hometown and be separate from your parents. Move out of their house, because that's the best thing we can do to become men and to make our own decisions and become strong for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, you have to carry the household, and we have to start our own family if that's your goal. You have to start your own household, and you have to start your own life. And if you're ever going to do that, you need to take that first step, and you need to go through this journey, the rite of passage of becoming a man and becoming an adult and making your own choices. Hope you guys like this video. Share your feedback below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.